Welcome to day 3. Today we are going to focus on what happens after you click submit on a form. So where that data goes, how it's stored, and how a business analyst can verify it. So we'll be using our loan application project as a live example. So by end of this session, you will clearly understand how the front end, back end, and database all talk to each other. Okay. So our goal is today understand how the data travels when a customer fills in a form like name, email, and loan amount. That amount information doesn't disappear anywhere, so it's stored somewhere permanent, the database. Okay. So as a business analyst, you don't need to write database queries, but you must know how to read, verify, and discuss what's happening behind the scenes. Okay. Quick recap on day 2 exercise. So before we go to today's session, so let's discuss the answer for the day-to-day student exercise. So the requirement was to create a customer feedback form. So these are the specification um, was given. Customer enters a name and email rating is 1 to 5 drop down here, and comment was a text box, so 200 character long. So rating was mandatory. The comment field should not exceed 200 characters. Form shows confirmation message, feedback submitted successfully. Okay, so our first task is identify the features of uncertainty, so which we already discussed here, um, and also UI elements and validation. So we discuss here. Second one, we draw a flowchart diagram and write the user story and explain how you would review this with developers. Okay, so let's do this one. So just make it easy. I already put it in a chart here. So again, my recommendation, if you are working on front end or any field related, right? Like any field related on a form or any user story, I recommend you to create a chart like this. Put a number here also so that when you are talking to developers, it's easy. You can mention A or B or number. So I summarize everything here. You see, name, that's a field, and the type of the UI element we need here, text box, required, it's mandatory, max 50 characters, and very important, if you have sample data, right, if it is coming from API response or like if you have sample data, um, please include here, so that's very easy for the tester to understand what this field going to accept expected value. Okay, so email text box must be valid email, john gmail.com. Rating is a drop down, required 1 to 5. Example, this one. Comment text area, maximum 2 character. Submit button, it's a button. Enable when all validation pass and clickable. Okay, so this is our requirement. So next step, we need to um, draw front end process flow and write the user story. Okay, so let's draw the front end diagram. Okay, I can make it a little bigger. Okay, let's start with start. So what customer opens the feedback form. So there is no right or wrong steps here. Try to understand what customer is doing. Okay, that's very important. Okay, customer open the feedback form, fills in each field. Okay, and front end check required field here. Okay, so next we can so front end checks what front end is checking here. So front end is checking number one, required field, is it mandatory or not? Okay, so that's the first check. And second one, highlighted max length. So every field we need to give a max length. And number three, valid format. Okay, so it's a text box or what type of data. All right, okay, so now next one, we can if valid pass, if validation pass, we can write it here, maybe a text box here, this is a box here, we can use this one. Let me put it here and let's put it down here. Okay, so here flow ends, but this we will continue. Okay, validation check. Okay, so pass fail. Okay, so if validation, if any valid, so if all these conditions are valid, okay, this is what's happening here. Okay, all the conditions are valid, highlight, enable submit button, the submit button, user clicks submit button. So here one more step, user is going to okay, user click submit button, and here if any invalid, what we need to do, highlight field and show message. Okay, so here we can expand this one further. Front end sends valid data to backend API, but at this point you don't know the API. I'll keep on adding here. Okay, and backend stores data in database. So maybe we'll put it here. Display success message. You can write feedback submitted successfully. Okay, so this is the message, and this is the end. Okay, so end, we can grab this guy. That's the flow end. Okay, so let's review the flow again. Okay, I can make it smaller. Customer open the feedback form, fills in each field, and front end check the required validation here. If validation pass, enable the submit button. So user click the submit button. So what will happen when user click the submit button? API send the data to the backend store, and again front end display this success message and process it. If validation fail, highlight the field and display the field validation message. Okay, very simple, right? Okay, so now let's go back to our next step is writing the user story, right? So we are going to use okay, so I can go to Jira. We are going to write the user story. Okay, so it's loading. Okay, so we want to go to Jira board. Let's go to the recent one. Okay, let's go to the just try to go to the recent dashboard. Okay, so now go to backlog. In the backlog, so I want to make it little up, then only you can see this one. Okay, I hope you can see now. So here we will choose a user story. Okay, so let's write the user story. So here write UI user story, customer feedback form. So why I wrote here, this is only the front end only. Okay, so let's hit create. Okay, user story is created. So now let's open this guy in a different tab and let's modify the user story. Okay, so user story as a user I want so that, okay, just for simplicity I'm just writing everything so that I don't need to. Okay, so next one is acceptance criteria. Okay, so let's put an underline here and here. Okay, so let's fill up the details here. So as a customer, and what we need here, I want to submit my feedback 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 with, you can add detail, but it's okay as long as you write feedback on valid fields. Okay, yeah, come on, so that my feedback is successfully recorded. Okay, T is missing. Okay, now let's write the acceptance criteria. Name and email are, I'll write manually, then I'll show you the chart also. We can copy and paste. And rating must be selected one, two. So you can write this way, or you can write given when then method also. Okay, so there is no specific format. Selected rating must be selected from 1 to 5 drop down, and comment, sorry, this is giraffe US, we have a hard time to write this one. Comment field cannot exceed 200 characters. Okay, submit button is enabled only when all validation pass. Okay, and after submission display success message. Okay, feedback submitted successfully. Okay, message. All right. Okay, here type error. Okay, that's it. Okay, so you clean everything, now it looks good. So that's it, your user story. You can add more detail, but one more thing I mentioned here, you can add a requirement section here. So this way is clear for the tester and the developer. So you can remember this little chart, right? So this is very important. So let's take this chart here, let's paste it here. So this is very important. No matter how good you write here, no matter how you describe here, so this will give a end-to-end clear understanding how the requirement is summarizing. So if you can make a chart for the field visualization, that would be great. So this is um, important for the testers and developers. Okay, so now let's discuss the estimation with our team. Okay, so that's the next our important thing. So we are telling to the team, so especially when we talk to the developer, we really need to implement front-end validation and ensure backend save the data securely. So you're saying we need a front-end validation and data should be saved in a backend. So when you are talking to the tester, you can show the expected results. Need expected result for valid input. So what customer is entering input and confirm message displayed and valid. Okay. So that's how you are explaining to the tester. So designer, if you are working with designer, because this is a front-end user story, so we need to have a design. So when you are talking designers, so you can show the need to show the error message clearly and ensure input fields highlighted on invalid data. Okay. So always provide sample inputs and invalid inputs in the requirement documents. Avoid ambiguity, right? Like people will get confused and they will assume. So always try to provide the sample data. That's very important. Okay. So now let's estimate this user story. There's no story point here. Okay. Okay, I don't see where to put the estimation here. Okay, and also there is no way. Let me close this one. For some reason, it's asking epic. Okay, so let's assign a epic here. See this little checkbox is not coming here. So let's assume this is the user story. There's no checkbox here, but let's assume this is the checkbox for this user story. Okay, so this is the front end. There are how many fields we have here? We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 fields are there with these 5 fields and validation. So I would recommend you this medium or large size user story. So with testing, and I'll go with it. Okay, so here I'm scoring here this user story, but something wrong in the Jira. It's not showing the estimation box here, so I'm just put it here. Okay. All right. So that's the end of the our student exercise. But important, I can show you. I prepared. I created this one. So let me see. Okay. So front end, the code is running. So maybe I can access the UI. Okay. There we go. I'll bring a little bit middle. Sometimes this is not working. And same time I'll open the database also. I'll show you how the okay, browse data. um, I guess okay, so this is the table. Okay, I try to make it small so we can keep side by side the day. So this is our form, online form. This is the table. Okay, table name. This is where the data is going to store for us. Okay, all right. So right now we have few record. When I building this one, I tested this one. So let's enter one more record. Um, testing. Okay, so this is the full name and email. We write Rami testing 123 at Gmail. So this is what we build. Okay, so rating, you can see a drop down. Let's put um, service testing. Okay, so now you see this submit button is already enabled. I'm not doing any validation. So uh, you see we have 3 record. We have to see when we hit the submit button, we must see one more record, Rami testing. Okay, so let's hit the submit button. Okay, so we see the successful message. This is what we try to display, feedbacks submitted successfully. I'll refresh the database. Okay, so I refresh the database. You can see our comment, great service and testing. Okay, cool, right? Okay, so that's it for our exercise, week 2 exercise. Now let's get back to today's discussion. So we'll start from the basic. We will be not writing any SQL query, but I'll give one homework today, and we will write some SQL queries, how to retrieve data from databases. But let's understand the basic. Keep going. Okay. So a database is just an organized place to store data. You see, right? Like here. Um, why I'm saying organized, you have control, you have index, like you can point, you can ask which table, and you see, you can ask which table, and you can find which database, which app, which program. So there is a lot of control, and you can retrieve the data to retrieve it. So again, so the database is a structured or like organized place where to store the data, right? So think like an Excel sheet, rows and columns, but more powerful. So we see an Excel sheet here. Um, this is a row, right? I don't need to show you, so maybe I just simply show you column 1, column 2, column 3, row 1, row 2, row 3, row 1, row 2, row 3. Okay, so let's create a small table. Okay, so you can see this is a row, right? This is a row, the highlighted one, this is a row, and B, this is a column, right? So this is how Excel work. And database also similar concept, row and columns, but it's far more powerful than Excel. Okay, so let me minimize this one here. So here you can see this database record. Here we can, this is a record, this is a row, and this one is a column. Okay, so each row is a single record. So this is a single record. So each column represent data field. So this is what the front end field we stored here, right? So this is for entire loan application for our project. So for our practice, we are going to use SQLite, but there are other databases, common databases we call RDBMS, relational database. MySQL, the generic ones are MySQL or PostgreSQL and Oracle databases, especially finance company. There are other databases like NoSQL databases being used by companies for the scalability and other stuff, but still the legacy systems using these type of databases, MySQL and Oracle database. So as a business analyst, you don't need to worry what type of database is being used. So we just need to understand how the data is stored and how to retrieve the data. Okay. So we are going to use the same approach. We are going to use the same loan application, and we are going to see how this data is stored in the backend database. Okay. So there are a few more other concepts you need to learn. We discussed this one. Database components you must learn as a business analyst. The first one is table. So table is collection of related data. Example, customer data. So you see, right? So this is a table. Feedback, customer feedback is a table. So there are multiple tables in a database. So if you see this database, there are many other tables also, right? So database is group of collection of tables. Now, if you are seeing table, table is collection of data, okay, particular data. Next one, column. So specific type of data stores. We have seen what is a column, which is a field here, becomes a field here. And next one, row. You have seen a row, specific record. So if I mention in column, that's a field. If I saying row, that's a record. Okay. And schema. So you will be hearing this word. You don't need to create schema. This created by solution architect or like a tech lead someone. But as a business analyst, you can also get a copy of the schema or spec of the schema so that if you want to validate, you can validate, but otherwise you can pass it to testers. They can validate also. So let's understand what is the schema. So schema is structure of the database table, right? So what is the structure of database table? So let's go to the database structure here. You see, I click the structure. So you can see the schema here. So let's go to our feedback table here. So feedback table, let me modify here. You can see the structure here. So you can see the fields here, ID field, and it's saying integer. Integer is nothing but it's a number, right? So what type of data this field should accept, right? Can this field accept null values? Null means can this be zero? No, right? So not null, NN. Okay. So next concept is a PK. You can see the primary key. So primary key is like your date of birth, right? So everyone has a unique identity. Like in database concept, every record should have a unique identity. Like that's why we have to take care duplicate record, right? So we don't accept duplicate record. So how the database is making sure there's no duplicate record using this primary key. So the PK, if you see, that means the primary key. Okay. So this is what, so here we need to define what is the max length and how many characters. This is all about the schema, right? So database structure, table structure, how this accept the data. So that's the schema. So primary key, we discuss unique identifiers, the foreign key. The foreign key, I don't have, we have multiple tables, but it's not related to the other table. So let me go back to the modify table here. So primary foreign key is, let's say this customer ID, right? Like I think I am in wrong. Database. So let's say this ID. So this is the unique ID for each record, right? Like example, if you browse data. So if you go here, so this is each customer, test Ram, Rami, John Doe. So this is each customer. You see every time there's a unique ID here, 1, 2, 3, right? So maybe there might be another table after we fund the loan detail. So there also you can see the loan ID, customer name, right? So we can link this table. Let's assume this is the application table and the loan table together, so that if we need to do a combine data retrieval, maybe some feedback or like a real-time analysis we can use for that. To make a link, we need a foreign key, which is the foreign key is the ID, right? So when databases are defined or made created, this is defined in the schema. What is the foreign key? Uh, what is the primary key and other stuff? Okay, so as a business analyst, it's good to know if you are creating any databases, but more specifically, you can for the tester, you don't need to capture anything. Whoever writing the database schema, they will insert this one. But if you are curious, you want to know, and you can ask this question, so your developer can tell you what is the foreign keys. Okay. All right. So let's go back to we learned the SQL basic. Today's case study. When a customer submit a loan form, and we are going to take this information and we are going to insert in the database. That's our case study, the same loan application we are working. So I'm not going to create a process flow here. So before, okay, we can create a process flow, but before we go to the process flow, I want to explain this SQL queries, so that we can familiar this queries also. Okay, so as a business analyst, your role is to break down each function. For example, like a submit or edit or delete or modification, what's happening behind the scene. Okay, uh, behind the scene here we are using a language called SQL, standard query language. So here you can see here, when we use a command called create, syntax create for the table. For the inserting data, we are using insert. So read the data, retrieve the data, we are using a command called select. To update, we are calling using update, delete. So you don't need to write any SQL queries to this one. So you just need to understand in customer point of view how the insert, how the update, and how the delete is working. Okay, let me show you before what I am actually talking. So okay, I need to close this one. Loan app, terminal. Let's activate the virtual environment. So I'm just setting everything. Okay, now start our server. Okay, perfect. I can show you now. So this is our URL. You can close this URL. Okay, there is. Okay, so this is our loan application. This is what we are going to use for our demo today. So let's open the database also for this one. Open database. So this is the loan project. Okay, SQLite 3 and loan application. Okay, so here is our database. Okay, so this is our front end. So John Doe, so John testing 123 at Gmail. This is the 10-digit number 416, and let's add a date here from the date picker. Oh, okay. Okay, gender male and loan type. Let's select personal loan and amount. Let's put 13,000 and terms and condition agree and choose the document here. Any document is good. And so now we can submit this one. Okay. So you see the record is created. We can see here time update. This is the only record we had before. So now when we submit, this is going to store in the database. So let me refresh the database here. So you can see the John Doe record is created right now. Okay. So, and so that goes here. If you see, so that's equivalent to insert. So you click the submit button, it's equivalent to insert. So if the customer click insert mean it's inserting a record in the database. That's what it happened now when you create a record. Okay. So now the next command here you can see update, right? So what will happen if customers are updating the loan? Okay. So let's go back to our front end. So let's update this John Doe. Okay, so we click update button. So it's bring back to the update here. So this is changed to update here. So we can write update here just for your simplicity. Update and update. Okay, and I click update button. Okay, so now you see our record number 4 ID number record number 4 is updated. So let's see what happened in the database. I'm going to refresh. Okay, so let's make it a little bigger. This one, you see it's got updated. So when customers are clicking update button, so what's happening? That's the query is sent to database here, editing or modifying update. Okay, so it's a first you insert a record, now it's update. So now let's go back and delete a record. Okay, so if here for the simplicity I provide a delete button here. So let me show you the database first. So let's delete the record number 1 with the customer ID 3, this record, first record. Okay, so I click delete. So it's asking the confirmation from the front end. I'll show you want to delete the time update Kumar. So yes, delete. So now it's showing one record. So we should see the same expected results here. Update. So it's gone from here. Okay. So that's the delete command. Okay, so next one, select, load the data. So data is already loading here, you can see, right? So whenever we request to the front end to load the data behind the scene, it's a select command. So that's why it's you can see the data, viewing the data. Okay, so these are the most important commands when you're working with SQL or databases. You don't need to delete any columns. So you'll be working like a select command or update something or insert something. Okay. All right. So now let's go back to our today's case study, what we need to do. So we are going to store a loan application data storage, which we have already seen. Store the loan detail in the database, auto assign a loan ID, save the data status, show in admin panel. Okay. So these are the command we need to use this one. So I'll just first create the process mapping, and I'll write the user story and we'll get estimated. Okay, so we limit to this one. I guess we can directly go to creating the user story. I'll close this one. So let's create one more user story here. So this is database. So we can write application form. Okay, so this is our database user story. Okay, it's got created. Go to, you know the flow, right? We collect the data, and you know what? So same flow we can use here. Customer, instead of this one, we can just modify this one. Okay, maybe it's easy to create this one quickly. Start here. Customer fills loan form. Let's quickly create this one. Front end sends data. Front end send data to backend. Backend validates data. So maybe we'll get a database here. Okay. So now backend send confirmation. It's always good to create a diagram. Backend. So then shows success message. Okay. So this is the high level flow. Okay. So it's the same flow what we are discussing. So let's head on to our user story writing. Okay. So as a user, So here our user is customer. So customer, I want to submit my loan application details through an online form so that my information is securely stored in the system and can be reviewed and processed by the bank for loan approval. Okay, so this is what you can write the detail. Okay, so I'm just okay, acceptance criteria. So I'm going to write we don't need to write everything, but I just write a few details here, how the data. So if you have a database schema, you can just copy and paste it here so the tester can validate how the data is stored. Okay, so I'll just write few lines here. When the customer submit the loan form, all input fields. Okay, all input field, you know, right? First name, last name, email, phone number, date of birth, gender, loan type, and amount, and document must be stored in loan application table database. Okay, so that's your ID. Each you can add more detail. Okay, each new record must automatically generate a unique loan ID. Okay, loan ID. So I'll just so you can add the system must save the submission date, status, and submitted. So you can add more detail when you are talking. Okay. Okay, so maybe I'll write one more acceptance. The system must save the submission date and status as submitted. So loan record is important, submitted, pending, completed. So you can add more detail, whatever information you need here. Okay, so now how to explain to the developer. Okay, so let's save our user story. So we are in a PBR, we are talking to our developer. So we are telling ensure the loan application model includes all required fields. That's very important. Okay, so you can bring your fields here and with proper data type. So you can create a chart here under requirement, so that can be used by as a database schema. Name field, remember in our database you have to loan application, so modify, so you have to give more detail, right? Like ID is integer, first name how many character, last name how many characters. It's can accept null value, so mandatory, primary key or like a foreign key. So everything you can provide in the requirement. So that is very important when you are talking to the testers and developer. Okay, so we are not talking about the exception handling, um, fallback mechanism, or other latent issues here. So only we are just discussing the basic only. So I'll cover separate video, more detail exception handling, working with databases. So just assume we are writing happy path user story for the database. Okay. So when you're talking to the tester, just say verify each form submission, insert a new record, the loan application, confirm the unique ID, submitted status automatically, tester front end by leaving required fields. So just tell, as per the schema, validate everything. Database or table can insert and view and drop columns record if needed. So tester can validate this one. So if you want, you can add testing scope here. So you can say um, verify that each form submission inserts a new record in the loan application. Sorry, loan application table. Okay, so you can add more detail similar to this one for the tester, and for the developer you can write put the schema or the fields here. Okay, so let me save this one. So let's go back to the estimation here again. Estimations are not showing here. So I would estimate this one 8 definitely, 8 or 13, because this is a little bit time consuming. Okay, there's no much complexity here, but definitely it's 8 or 13 users story point. Okay, so now let's go back to our continuation. So we have done this one, user story, explain to the team, estimation. So next one is the student exercise. In the student exercise, tomorrow I'll show you writing few SQL queries. So your case study or your scenario, you as a junior business analyst, I don't know if it is big enough. Okay. So you join this FinEdge loan company. So the QA tester asks you to verify if the loan application correctly saved and update deleted database. So your job is to a new customer, John Smith, apply for a personal loan, 10,000, write a SQL statement, insert record into, so manually, you are not doing from the front end. So yeah, you see, right, when you create this one from the front end. So when you do it from front end, when you submit, this is a creating, right? So what I'm saying, without this one, how you can insert manually using SQL, okay? That's one. So second one, you are reading the data. So you are writing select statement here, and now you are third one, you need to update, and finally we are deleting. Okay. So here we have a duplicate record, how to identify. So this is your exercise for tomorrow. Before we start, we can take a look at this one. Okay. So today's learning summary, you learn what is a DB, key component table, schema, basic CUD operations, create, read, update, delete, front end, back end interactions. So now let's test our knowledge. We can go back to our knowledge check. Okay. So what is the main purpose of in database application? Okay. A, display information on the screen, to store, organize, manage data, to send data out to the internet, or design the user interface. So right answer is this one, to store, organize, and manage data. So database acts as the storage system for all the data the application collects. Okay. Number two, which of the following best describes a table in a database? A form used to enter data, a collection of related data organized in rows and columns, single piece of data like a name or number, a tool used to API. So the right answer is a form used to enter the data, right? Um, sorry, right answer is B, a collection of related data organized in rows and columns. So this is the right answer. So tables hold data in a structured format similar in an Excel sheet. Okay, so again I'm repeating. Right answer, a collection of related data organized in rows and columns. Okay, so that's the answer. What is a primary key? We have field used for login, unique identity for each record and table, a field that stores password, a field that connects to tables. Right answer is a unique identifier for each record in a table, which is P. Okay. The primary key ensures that each record is distinct and easily retrievable. So that's the purpose. Question number 4. When a customer submit a loan form, which SQL command store the data? So C, when you submit the loan, so that's the SQL statement is using, that's the syntax is insert. The insert command adds a new record to the database table. Okay. Which SQL operation is used to view or fetch the data from the database? So right answer is select. This is the command you need to master. So select is used to retrieve data from one or more tables. Okay. Which part of the system sends data from the front end form to the back end? So we haven't discussed this one. So the data exchange, data carried through a API. So this is the right answer. The front end communicates with the back end using API. So we call it as application programming interface. Okay, so we'll be discussing tomorrow this one. Question number 7, in our loan application, what happens if a record with the same email is submitted twice? Okay. The database ignores it. The system should prevent duplication and show an error. The system overrides an old record automatically. Nothing happens. So this is a very important concept when you're working with databases. The system should prevent duplicate and show an error. Okay, so that's why we have a primary key. So it won't allow the duplication. Okay, business rule must ensure no duplicate entries except for the same email and date. Okay. That's a rule. Which of the following SQL command is used to modify existing data? So modify we saw it's update. Okay, so update change data that already exists in the table. Number 9, what tool in so this is Django really allow you to easily view the stored data in BA or tester. So this is my project related, so I'm not worrying about. So here right answer is Django admin panel. So you should not know this one, but it's okay, um, just for our knowledge. Question number 10, as a business analyst, why is it important to understand the database layer? So this is very important. C, to validate that data is stored correctly and support testing discussions, right? A BA doesn't write code but must understand data flow and storage to confirm requirements are met. Okay, so that's very important. So that's it, our knowledge check. Now let's head back to our interview questions. Okay. Um, Tell me about a time you worked on a feature that involved database updates. Okay. So we can use our loan project in a loan application project. User needs submit personal loan detail online. So your task are to ensure the fields were correctly captured and stored in the database. So what did you do? I reviewed the database schema with the developer, right? So that's what you capture in user story, confirm each front end field map to correct column and verify data persistence. Uh, just ignore this one after test submission. So that's what you need to do. So result, the data was accurately saved without missing duplicate records, and testing team confirmed full end-to-end data traceability. So here you can use MySQL, or you can use Oracle database, whatever the utility you are using to retrieve view your. So you can use view, viewer, database viewer. So there are so many tools you can use, but for our case, we are using this Django. So how do you validate that the front end and back end are correctly saving data to the database? So during a customer onboarding project, we need to ensure the data entered by user match was stored in the system. So same kind of pattern, guys. So front end customers are entering this taken by the API and store it in the database, right? So my response was verify the field level data accuracy. I compared front end entries and back end entries since SQL select queries, and I also reviewed API response for confirmation message like record created successfully. We identify fix two mismatch fields before production, improve data quality and reducing rework. Okay. So again, every time there's a front-end application and storing the data. Okay. So give an example when understand SQL help you as a business analyst. This is a very good question. While working on a financial reporting enhancement, tester reported missing transaction in the report. I need to identify whether the issue was the database or the reporting logic. So I use simple SQL queries like select from transaction where status is approved to check source data and found the backend was inserting new records properly. The issue was escalated and resolved quickly, preventing inaccurate report for end users. Okay, so this is a good one you can share. Describe how would you handle a scenario where the database has duplicate customer entries, right? In a customer feedback system, duplicates appear when users submit feedback twice by mistake. My job was to help define a validation rule to prevent duplicates. I proposed adding a uniqueness um, constraint on the email date combination in the database, suggesting backend validation reject repeat entries, right? So the fix reduced the duplicate feedback entries by 100%, improving the data integrity and report accuracy. So I have given many 4 or 5 scenarios in a different angle. So whatever scenario it fits for your use case, you can keep on practice. How would you explain the database interaction process to a non-technical stakeholder? Okay, so during a stakeholder meeting for a loan processing app, some team members didn't understand how user data was stored. So my goal was to explain the process in simple non-technical language. So I describe it as when a user fills out the form. So like I showed you, right? You can show the application and you can show the database, then business can understand. The system send the information back and which saves digitable table like Excel. The stakeholder clearly understood the data flow, which improved the communication, reduced confusion, right? So you can do the same thing. You can show from the front end, you can show the database, how the data is stored, and you can show the process flow. So business can understand very well, okay? So these are the things you can include in your resume. So you under your resume add technical skills or tools and technology, database and data management, practical understanding, relational database, SQLite, MySQL, Oracle, whatever database you are familiar with, hands-on experience, data schema design, CRUD operations, create, read, update, delete, and verify store data. Okay. So here we are using Django admin, but if you are using any other utility, TeamViewer or any other database viewing systems, you can use that one. Okay. Uh, tools, SQL browser, light browser, SQL queries. You can use this one. So you can mention data persistence, data schema, primary key, and foreign key mapping between front end, back end, and validation. Okay. So if you want to put the project, you can um, we can use our project as well here, right? So we can build a full stack loan application, so end to end, right? From front end, understand data flow front end to database, design tested code, functionality create, and this one collaborator developers define structure, data validation. You can use our sample project in case if you want to use. So skills, again, there are different angle you can put it in LinkedIn also, so that's why I'm showing everything. You don't need to copy and paste, or you don't need to use exactly the same, but you can modify and use it in your resume. Okay. Maybe in the LinkedIn if you want to share. Developing, storing practical understanding how business record translate into backend database structure, experience reviewing and validating data storage and travel using Django and SQL databases. Okay, so that's it for today. So let's go back to our discuss learning summary. So tomorrow we discuss, okay, practical understanding. We discuss the resume one. So what's coming tomorrow? Day 4. Now previously we discussed front end. Today we discuss database. Now we are going to discuss in day 4 API layer. So you learn what APIs are, how system communicate, reading API docs, writing user story, and Postman. I will demo using the Postman how to do the API testing. Okay. So until we see you tomorrow, thank you everyone. You guys have a great day.